Hi, hello everyone. This is Nancy, Rebecca, tuning in at 7 a.m. from the Pacific Northwest, and this is my Thursday live. As often as I can, I'm on live on Thursdays, so welcome for wherever you are tuning in from. We have this enormous international community, which is just growing in leaps and bounds, and I'm super excited about that. I also recently had my very first organic viral video take off. I was super excited about that. I hope that's not too loud. Where like in a couple of days, I had 48,000 views, where normally after about a week, it's 2,000 views. So I'll take that. I'll take it. I was excited. What was the topic, in case any of you missed it? It has to do with time. I'm feeling weird. I can't remember what it is. All right, so tuning in this morning. Infrasound, the hidden force that affects your energy field, can affect how you feel, can affect anxiety and panic attacks. Now, this might sound like a little over the head. So I'm just gonna give you fair warning. If you're new to my channel, my name is Nancy Rebecca. I'm a retired registered nurse. I've been retired 25 years now. I had an out-of-body experience, and I work as a full-time psychic and teach intuitive psychic development. So I just want you to know what I'm not clairvoyantly seeing, but maybe clairvoyantly seeing, but more what I've started hearing. And so I'm going to talk about infrasound today. And so my question to you is, have you ever felt anxious? Hello, Sandra. Have you ever felt anxious, disoriented? I could see you all like check, 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 or deeply moved, but you couldn't explain why. And what if the answer is not psychological? What if the answer is you're not crazy, but you're vibrational and you're a frequency and you're like a tuning fork? All right. There are frequencies all around us that we can't hear with our ears, but our bodies are listening. And today we're going to dive deep into infrasound, the silent sound, and how it can profoundly affect your body and your mind and your spiritual energy. From the ancient Egyptian temples to solar flares and even the earth itself, these hidden vibrations may be the key. This is why I want you to stay tuned in, because I do believe it's a key to understanding your anxiety, your intuition, and your next level awakening. So how many of you have heard of infrasound before? So hello, Barbara. Hello from British Columbia and the Okanagan, White Sands, Alberta, Columbia Gorge. Awesome. Colorado, Mauritius. Awesome. Nice to see you all. So I know that those of you who are watching the replay, you don't know what chats that I'm responding to. So I will try to, if I respond to someone, I will try to read their comment that I'm responding to. All right, so let me give you a little history before I dive into my notes. I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited about it. So, of course, I've been talking to the blue star celestial beings that came through in 2017. So there's this huge body of work around this. And then it was several years ago, it was like, I'm being guided by the blue star beings and my spirit guides to really focus on frequency. And they're always talking about the frequency. So we know frequency is a sound. It has a sound to it, and certain frequencies and how they feel to us. And you can have some really maybe not negative frequencies, but frequencies that are disruptive, discordant, corrupted. And then you can have these really beautiful frequencies. And I bet every single one of you can feel a lot of frequencies going on inside of you that are jamming your frequencies. You know, like in the movie Poltergeist, where the psychic says, "Step back, you're jamming my frequencies." So there was a lot about frequencies, and that's why I started the frequency forecast every Thursday. All right. So then this thing about sound started coming up. A lot about sound started coming up, and it started coming up with the blue light codes. It started coming up with sacred geometry. It started coming up with the hieroglyphs. So all this frequency stuff started coming up. And then when I was going to travel with William Henry, he talked about frozen sound. And I'm telling you, if my ears could have become 1,000 times bigger than what they are. Have you ever done that? Where you just like, oh, I just heard that. I need to pay attention to that. That's what happened to me with frozen sound. So I'm going to be talking about that today. Okay. So then remember in May, if you were tuned in, the May frequency forecast, I said there's these really long waves that are coming in. It's like I have not witnessed with my clairvoyance these really long, slow waves. And I really interpreted them as being very grounded. They could be very emotional. It's bringing more of the light into your body. So all of that's true. That's true. Now, but this is what I don't know. I could just go off on a tangent, so I probably should just stick to my notes. So there was this tone in Egypt, and so I'm going to talk about that today. But when I was looking up infrasound, so I'm going to give you some information about that. There's this man, and I'm sorry I didn't write down his name, but he can sing, and he has this voice box that can go so low in frequency that you cannot hear the tones with your ears, but you can feel what he's singing or toning. You can feel it in your body. There's this resonance in the cells of your body. And so I was like, all right, that's interesting. But what really struck me was that they said they've studied his vocal cords, and he's got longer vocal cords than the average human, these long strands. So this is what I was seeing in May. Are you tracking me? All right, let me get to my notes. All right. So today we're going to explore together one of the most mind-bending, body-opening concepts I have ever encountered, infrasound. And I've never considered myself like super clairaudient. I have friends who are super clairaudient. And if some of you are super clairaudient, which means you can hear things that other people can't hear, like angels singing or spirit guides talking, or like in mediumship where your loved ones can communicate. Okay. So infrasound is a frequency of sound that's too low for the ears to hear, usually below 20 hertz. Now, we often will just make this assumption that we can't hear something. If we can't hear it, it can't affect us. All right. If we can't hear it, it can't affect us. But that assumption can't be further from the truth. So just like the ocean's deep currents shape the surface of the water, these low frequency vibrations shape our inner landscape, and often without us even realizing it. Now, before I jump into Egypt, I want to also say that a couple of years ago, so if you're not familiar with me, I'm a huge fan of mermaids. I have my little mermaid cup. I'm a huge, huge fan of Sasquatch. I do happen to live in Washington State. Well, we have a lot of Sasquatch. No, I've never seen one, and I'm not sure that I ever want to see one. But here's the thing. So I was listening to people talk about Sasquatch, and I'm listening to these podcasts, and they're talking about this frequency. Like they couldn't hear it at all, but they couldn't move. They couldn't move. They couldn't get their legs to move. Like they were frozen on the spot. So when I was at the Phenomicon conference, I was asking some of the players on Expedition Bigfoot, how does this happen? Because I hear this a lot where you just can't move. And they made some joke about it and they went on. But now that so there was this hunter that came up to me, and he's was one of the top hunters in the United States. Like lots of big, wealthy people would hire him to go scout an area. He did have an event where he ran into a Bigfoot, a Sasquatch. He couldn't move. His hunting dogs couldn't move. So he talked to me about this later. He said, "You're not crazy. You're onto something. There's something there." All right. So now all of a sudden it's starting to fall into place that these infrasounds that are coming through. Okay. So after returning from Egypt, I began to feel this deep rhythmic sensation in my body. Not a sound I could hear in my ears, but something resonated in my bones. It was as if the temples I visited were still humming inside of me. My spirit was receiving downloads, and still is, and I'm sure it is for you as well, faster than you can keep up with and process. And what kept coming up is silent sound, deep frequencies, something ancient, something powerful. And it turns out I'm not alone in what I was sensing. And when I think about the Great Pyramid of Giza and the hotel we were staying at, when I kind of go back, it's like there's this hum deep in the earth below the hotel. There was this hum around the pyramids. And my sense is this hum would probably go for miles out. At the time, I couldn't hear it. But as I'm tuning back in with my memory, I can feel it in my body. But at the time, I couldn't. So infrasound is produced in nature through earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, ocean waves. When you're standing near the ocean, there's this deep vibration. And the aurora borealis in the upper atmospheres also have a hum to them. So all of this is infrasound. These are deep earth tones, but they can also rise up in sacred architecture, such as in Egypt, as I said, the Great Pyramid. And it's believed by some researchers to resonate at a frequency that aligns with the Earth's natural hum, known as the Schumann resonance. So we're often very familiar with the Schumann resonance. So if you don't know anything about the Schumann resonance, I'm going to ask someone to please type the name in so that those who haven't heard of Schumann resonance can have the correct spelling and look it up. Okay. Now, here's the fascinating part. These inaudible frequencies can still move us physically, emotionally, spiritually. Studies have shown, and there's a lot of studies on infrasound, that certain frequencies can cause a range of human responses. So like around 18 hertz, people have reported feeling uneasy, anxious, even hallucinating, having visions. And why? Because at 18 hertz, it's close to the resonant frequency of the human eye, and it literally vibrates your eyeballs and can shift your perceptions of things. All right. But here's the other side, and it can be really disruptive. So let me give you an example of what can cause this to happen, cause you to have panic attacks, anxiety attacks. So it can be like big buildings made of concrete where a car driving by or a big truck rumbles and you feel the rumble under the earth and it comes up, it can trigger anxiety. You can be around an electrical box that's not grounded. It can cause you to feel this foreboding, something terrible is going to happen. This is where you can feel like there's a ghost around, something bad. Like these are really out of balance, discordant infrasound. And so when I was doing my research, that's all anybody was talking about. They were talking about it's horrible, 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 horrible. And I was like, okay, but I don't think that that's always true, because what I experienced in Egypt was a frozen sound, a silent sound. I couldn't hear with my human ear, but I could feel it in my body and it felt beautiful. So I have some theories here. And here's the thing about theories. Theories are meant to be proven or disproven. So I'm not speaking from fact. I'm speaking from the library of Nancy, who's crazy curious. So I want you to jump in there with me. All right. So in the shaking, I'm really thinking about your eyeballs vibrating, and then it vibrates the optic nerve and the visual cortex and the brain, and it can shape how you view your world. All right. So I did some research and I did some meditation around it. So not all infrasound is disruptive. Some low frequency vibrations, especially those found in nature and sacred spaces, can feel profoundly soothing and even blissful. So think of the resonance when you're standing near a powerful waterfall, the low rumble of the ocean waves, the grounding pulsation felt in a cave that's in a canyon. So these sounds aren't heard through the ears, but they're deeply sensed in the body, and they can evoke feelings of feeling safe, calm, comforted, and even spiritually elevated. Okay. I lost my place. Okay. And some believe this is how the earth herself sings to us through vibrational tones that realign our nervous system and our energy field. So the contrast between feeling discordant and it's upsetting to feeling those lightly or strongly spiritually elevated can come down to your intention and your environment. So in nature or sacred architecture, such as the Great Pyramid, the Temple of Dendera, the Mayan ceremonial sites, the infrasound appears to be harmonically attuned to life, to Earth's resonance, and even to human DNA. Thank you, Catherine D. Catherine D said, I recommend watching Stephen Burns. He sometimes talks about Schumann resonance with space weather. All right. So when I was in Egypt, I did feel this low, beautiful tone humming in my bones. It was like I was experiencing the ancient architects that they designed these temples with care. There's a resonance that speaks not to the ears, but to my soul. It was talking to my soul. And why? Because 18 hertz is close to the resonant frequency of the human eye. And this is what has me going, huh? So I'm not there yet, but you can join me and we'll keep exploring this. So again, literally shaking your perception. So the Great Pyramid, Dendera, Karnak, these were built not just as monuments, but as resonant structures. So this is why I created the creation code activation The blue beings of light kept focusing on this frequency of sound, 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 sound. And so the whole creation code activation program is all about frequencies, all about sounds, all about vibrations. And the program is still open, and how people are responding to it is just, their testimonials are just mind-blowing. So we've left it open a little longer, but here's the thing. It's like infrasound is like a tuning fork for the soul. Sacred architecture wasn't only about aligning with the stars, it was about aligning with vibrational states that trigger transformation. Now, I am going to bring it back because we can't all go to Egypt. I get that. But I also know that we can work within dimensions, and you can imagine and pretend, and we're going to have a meditation so you can have your own experience with it. So this is called frozen sound. Its sound is held in stones and crystals, waiting to be reactivated by the right chant, the right breath, even your presence. And yes, you can feel it. I know you can feel it, even if you can't hear it. And here's the other thing. I work as a psychic intuitive. Every friggin' person on this earth is intuitive. And it was in 2007 when I was told by my spirit team there was going to be mass intuitive awakening, mass levels of people becoming aware that they are intuitive. Here's the other thing about infrasound. Frequencies and sounds you can't hear are triggering your intuitive senses awakening, your psychic senses awakening. So we just don't even have time to mess with those old belief systems and social programming around intuition. So don't get me started on that, because we're moving forward, right? We're in the threshold of the golden ages. So sound, pack your bags with sound frequencies, because you're going to need it moving forward. So then I asked in my mind, and I asked my spirit team, do solar flares have infrasound? Because we always think about it as this power hitting the earth. So the answer came, it's kind of indirectly. Solar flares send high energy radiation to the earth, which can disturb our atmosphere and our magnetic field. And these disruptions create low frequency atmospheric waves that the body does feel, even though you're like, oh, the solar flares don't bother me. And those who the solar flares really bother go, oh, I'm happy for you. I happen to be one of those the solar flares don't bother. But so yes, Terry, at Holding Your Space, everything has frequencies. Okay. So I said solar flares. So these disruptions create, and it can cause and trigger anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia, and intuitive overload. So how many of you are very intuitively sensitive? And, and so Jana is saying you're talking about the seventh dimension and string theory. So you can go look that up. But here's the thing, Jana. When I was really tuning in, like deeply, I was really tuning in. It was my first and second chakra that was off the chart. So maybe it's the seventh dimension of the first and second chakra. There is on YouTube, I found it, and they had an orchestra that was playing, and they had an audience that came in. And when the audience came in to hear the orchestra, they weaved throughout infrasound. So the sound wasn't going to be heard by the audience. And then they did it the next night where the orchestra wasn't weaved with infrasound. And here's the difference that they found is that those who had the infrasound weaved throughout, they were more emotionally emoting. They were more emotionally connected to the sound, to the music. Like it just made it so much more of a powerful experience. There were some where they were like, I do not like this orchestra at all. So there were definitely those, but I found that fascinating. And then the next night without the infrasound, they did not have the emotional connection because they thought, well, maybe the music is moving them. Oh, sorry. Maybe the music is moving them to be emotional, but it turns out it was definitely the infrasound. So it's very exciting. So what's remarkable is that your body, especially your bones, your nervous system, and even your fascia can act like a receiver for these silent frequencies. So you've been feeling them all this time. You may not have realized it. Your cells don't need sound to travel to your ears because your cells respond to vibration directly. So what do we end up doing with this information? Well, first, realize that your anxiety and your inner agitation may not just be stress. It could be your body reacting to real frequencies. And second, begin practicing vibrational hygiene, meaning meditation, sound baths, finding someone who works with sound, toning, breath work, grounding can all recalibrate your human energy field. And in our creation code activation, someone that I highly revere, I call her the gong goddess, Judy Bernard, she made a gong sound bath for every single week. And most important, you want to begin to listen with your whole body. All right, listen with your whole body. When something deep stirs inside of you and you can't explain it, don't dismiss it, because these may be whispers of ancient sounds waking you up. Mag Mary, are the background tracks on the Creation Code voice meditation specifically chosen to be sound healing frequencies that accompany the meditation? There was some depth around how I chose the music. However, I was not thinking about sound baths and I was not thinking about infrastructure when I did it. I was following my intuition. Okay. So here's the big thing. This was my big aha before we move into the meditation so that you can have your own beautiful experience with infrasound. So now I'm meditating on this, and I know when I intuitively get this excited, it's big. It's really, really, this silent sound, frozen sound is really, really big, but I don't know what that means yet. But here's the thing. So I was meditating on it and I'm like, okay, so why is some infrasound discordant? Why does it make you feel sick? Why does Bigfoot, Sasquatch be able to use this deep rumbling sound? Elephants can do the same thing. Lions can do the same thing. There are bats follow infrasound. Okay, so I was trying to figure out, how can it stop you? And then how can it make you feel good? Like, has there been people that have studied this? Do you have visions? Does it activate your dreams? So this is the answer that came when I was in meditation, that when infrasound is aligned with Earth and aligned with the stars, the cosmos, it is tuned like a tuning fork with the infrasound that's below 20 hertz. When it's grounded and aligned with the stars, you have a beautiful response to it. When it's like in a building, where nobody's grounded off the electricity, or cars driving by make the concrete vibrate and it doesn't feel good to you, or many multiple reasons, it's not grounded off with the earth. It's not aligned with the stars. So the infrasound is kind of shooting all over the place. It's not organized. It's disorganized. And that does not feel good to the human body. So then I said, is this why you keep telling people to get in nature? And that was like, that's when the spirit world, like you hear this roar of cheering, like, she got it. She got it. Like what your spirit guides will say when you're like, they finally listened. So it was kind of like this. So it's like, you got it. Because nature functions and grows off infrastructure. So this is what I was told. This is my theory. This is what I told by spirit. And when you get out in nature, if you have been around a lot of discordant energies, you go out in nature, and it doesn't have to be deep in nature, that nature has this rhythmic, organized infrasound that you can't hear with your ear, that brings a harmony back to your body. And so that's why the blue beings of light, when we keep asking, what can we do? What can we do to enhance our consciousness, align us with the unified field, help us expand our truth, help our DNA smoothly get activated to bring in higher levels of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, enhance our ability to see what has been hidden is going to be even more revealed. Spirit said, get in nature as much as you can. And even if you can't get out of the house, get a house plant. So my mother-in-law she can get out once in a while, but living in a senior housing. So, Yvonne got her this beautiful plant bowl that sits next to her table, and she loves it. It's like her little bowl of nature right there for her. So Jules asked, is the corpus callosum merging with our split brain? So what I know, Jules, Joolz, what I know and what I learned last year during the full solar eclipse, I went to Arkansas for that last year in April, is that our white matter and our corpus callosum is growing, and it's able to connect with a larger amount of our gray matter. Now, is it merging the two sides of the brain? I don't know anything about that. But what I do know, what the spirit world told me, what my own higher guides told me, was that our white matter is growing and it's affecting the gray matter. And we're becoming more efficient in our thought processes. However, you wouldn't think that with how forgetful we're being right now and how much time we're losing, but we are adapting. All right. We're going there. Okay. If you were sitting in my living room right now, we'd have to order lunch because we would be going on and on for hours about this. Because when I get super excited about something, I can be very annoying to people. Are you all ready for a meditation? Awesome. Awesome. Okay. My mind is like going 1,000 miles an hour. So I'm going to ask the calming infrasounds connected with nature to help calm my curious mind so we can do this meditation. So in this guided meditation, I'm calling it experiencing silent sound. So let yourself get comfortable in a comfortable position, either seated or lying down. And you're also welcome to stand and see if you can feel and sense the frequencies maybe coming up from earth through your feet. But allow your eyes to gently close And take a moment to take some long, slow, deep breaths in through your nose, and then really open your mouth wide and maybe make a tone or a hum or just a louder breath as you exhale. And this time, as you take another breath in, see if you can sense sound, silent sound, being carried by the air that's going through your nostrils, blending with the sound, silent sound frequencies of your body, and then exhaling back out a silent sound. Let your body become still, relaxed. Allow all tension to drain out of your hands and down your legs and out your feet. You may become still, but you are still a silent sound frequency where your cells sing to you, your mitochondria sing to you, your DNA sings to you all the time. Now feel the presence of earth beneath you. Allow everything else to dissipate and everything earthly and nature to surround you. And if you could feel that deep, low hum, that deep, low humming frequency of the earth, what would it feel like to you? Does this earthly hum, earthly sound have illuminating light to it? Is this beautiful low hum of the earth activating your own inner light? Now, in your inner vision, your inner sense, intuitive sense, begin to sense and see yourself standing before the Great Pyramid of Giza. Now sense that deep hum, that infrasound coming up through the ground. Now, Imagine and pretend stepping inside and noticing you're stepping inside the Great Pyramid. You're going through the doorway. It's a well lit shaft with well worn stone and wooden planks and railings. And notice how the air shifts and the silence inside the Great Pyramid is palpable. The silence is palpable. There's something underneath, a deep hum your body starts to feel. The entire pyramid is humming with silent sound. This is infrasound. It's not heard through the ears, but you hear it through your bones, your breath, and your cells. Sense the hum rising from the stones beneath your feet. Allow this hum to travel upwards through your legs, through your spine, and your chest. This is the ancient resonance of the Egyptian pyramid. Now, allow the Egyptian pyramid to completely fade into the background. We're going to visit another pyramid. So think the Egyptian pyramid, think the silent sounds and the tones of the earth there, the ancientness. Allow it all to fade into the background. Now imagine that you shift lightly in consciousness as you're being transported across the globe to the Yucatan Peninsula, where you find yourself now standing before a Mayan pyramid in all of its sacredness, large and majestic. Experience the silent sound, the infrasound humming below your feet through Mother Earth and this part of the world. Allow yourself to take the steps up until you reach the doorway and step inside. Is the hum in the Mayan pyramid similar or different? It's inaudible, yet you can still experience it in your bones. Let this vibration move up through your feet, your spine, your chest. Notice the contrast between the two pyramids. Both pyramids are ancient. Both pyramids have a silent frequency, and both pyramids are activating you. Now allow your Mayan experience to fade into the background. And it's just you now, aligned with the hum of the earth. Allow yourself to use your intention and your intuition to fine-tune your own inner dial of your body. Imagine you are adjusting the tones and the hertz you're feeling until you find your own unique resonance. Let's call it your comfort frequency. Fine-tune the inner dial of your body, adjusting the tones and the hertz until you find your comfort frequency. Set the intention now. My human energy field naturally adapts to these low tones with ease. My body knows how to receive only what supports me. Take a moment to rest in this space, gently listening to every part of you. When you're ready, bring yourself back using your breath. Nice deep breath in and out. Bring all of your bits into this present moment. Back into the room where you are, the space where you are. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Slowly open your eyes. Knowing that you have just attuned to the silent symphony that lives beneath the world, and knowing it also lives within you. Ooh, that's beautiful. All right, I would love to have you post in the comments section your experience with silent sound that is scientifically known as infrasound. And if you want to go a little further and your experience between these two majestical, I don't even know if that's a word, majestic pyramids that were attuned with nature and the stars. So this particular meditation is always kind of separated from the main talk, and music is added. So that's always released on the following Tuesday. So that will be available for you to use anytime you wish. And if you love that meditation and you love how you felt with that, just know that for 12 weeks and the Creation Code Activation Series, this is exactly what we're doing every single week. So we also have the summer solstice that's coming up on the 21st, kind of still running to catch up after Egypt, but it should be open today. But go to my website, intuitivemind.org, and so that you will know when registration opens for the summer solstice, because this is the first time in 25 years we're going to work with a lot of silent sound to weave throughout the group reading. All right, everyone, thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you and having you tune in to my next teaching video. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.